listening to 1380 AM, 95.1 FM, KCIM. It is rewind time. Sports Director Jeff Blankman, Casey Miners in the studio with us. And Casey, just under the wire, just telling you, had 2 minutes to spare, so.
Yeah, I woke up at 9:15, so.
You can hear it in his voice that he hadn't really spoken.
Still,
yeah. This is the first words I've spoken. You heard it right here this morning.
Since you called me at 2:33 last night.
Yeah.
Always fun to drag yourself out of bed and go down the air.
Yeah.
There's no danger in that at all. So, anyway, it's KCIM Sports Rewind. We're going to have our trivia question coming up here in just a little bit, so we'll do that. We'll talk about some really kind of cool stuff happening for some of the teams around the area, like triple plays, grand slams, hitting streaks, things like that. All that going on right now. But first, we probably better wish one of our former cohorts a happy birthday this morning. Tyler Bruner is, I believe, 14, 16 years old today?
Yeah.
How old is Tyler?
Well, if he's shaved, he's 12. If he's got the beard, then he's 26 or 27.
Exactly like the guy sitting over here, Casey. When you shave, man, you got this baby face.
I can't fully shave, but sometimes I just say screw it and I fully shave.
Yeah, and then you do. You look like you're probably junior high.
So happy birthday to Tyler Bruner going on there. All right, let's do the trivia question.
You know, the funny thing is he couldn't get up in time to come to Rewind back when he worked for us. Now he's like up at 6:30, 7 o'clock every morning. Yeah, appreciate the effort, Tyler. Thanks. All right, so trivia time. NBA Finals getting going finally this Thursday. I mean, they determined who was going to be in the finals like a week ago. Yeah,
what is up with that? I hate that playoff.
I do too. I mean, I get the fact that they, the series has only went 4 and 5 games, so they had already had other. But it's like, come on, you're the NBA. You can't change hotels and flights and all of these things and get, the arenas ready to go. I mean, why do you need a week layoff? There's a reason why some people are frustrated with the NBA season, and I'm even an NBA fan, but it's like, I don't need the NBA Finals going until the middle part of June.
Exactly. So and don't tell me you're not going to find a place to stay in Boston or Dallas.
It's like the longest running season, isn't it?
Yeah.
Out of the if you look at the major sports.
I think so.
I would say maybe the NHL right along with them because they started about the same time, I'm guessing.
Yeah. They're just getting into
the Stanley Cup finals as well. So, by the way, speaking of that, I was listening to a podcast yesterday. It's Edmonton against the Florida Panthers, if I remember correctly. Did you know the halfway point between those two places is Indianola, Iowa?
Is it?
Yeah, they were talking about that because there was a place out in Nebraska I was listening to, and they're like, is there any chance that we could just build an arena here and say, hey, play one game here to cut down on the travel for both teams, or are like we the halfway point? And then they looked it up, and it was actually Indianola, Iowa is the halfway point.
That'd be kind of crazy.
Yeah.
That'd be cool. Let's do that. Let's try
it at Wells Fargo Arena real quick,
Yeah, why not? So, trivia question in the morning has to do with the NBA Finals. Mavericks and the Celtics. Now, the Dallas Mavericks, they're making their third trip to the NBA Finals. They've won once and they've lost once. They won back in 2011. They lost back in 2006. Who did they face in their previous 2 trips? Okay. And I'll give you a hint. Same team.
Okay, repeat that for me.
Miami Heat.
Wow. I'm not going to repeat that because you just made a question right there.
Yeah, sorry. I was responding to a text message.
The only way I remember that is because that was the season after LeBron went on. We're not going to win 1. We're going to win 2, and then all of a sudden losing the NBA Finals to Dirk and in Dallas. So.
In Dallas. Yeah. Jason Kidd, who's now their coach, was the point guard on that team. Yeah.
Yeah. See, he just woke up and even he got the trivia question.
Yes. Sorry, I was literally responding to a text message.
Yeah, I saw you grab your phone. I'm like, you're not looking up the answer, are you?
No, I'm not looking up the answer. I was literally responding to a text message that I needed to answer real quick. So I was like, not really paying attention. I heard something about Miami Heat. So, yeah. All
right, so we this past week, this last Monday, in fact, just yesterday, we released a podcast. I did, my podcast called Must Know People with Sean and Shelley Haluska.
Yes.
And about an hour-long conversation, and we recorded it just after the NCAA tournament was on.
Okay.
So we talked a lot about Caitlin Clark at the beginning and some other things like that. But I kind of wanted to play a couple of cuts here, and we'll talk about this afterwards before we get to all of our local sports here. But I thought it was really interesting. The first comments that they made, we talked about their basketball, and I said AAU. Is it overplayed? Is it just, are they selling false dreams to kids? And they talked about how they really honed their skills, and they said it was right here in town at the Carroll Recreation Center. So here's Sean and Shelley talking about that, an extended cut from that Must Know People podcast.
the benefit that we had from playing at the rec center here in town as young kids. There was a stretch there where there were several different, young professionals that were good athletes that were in their, late 20s, early 30s. I mean, I go back to
So you weren't just playing with high school kids.
No,
you were playing with anybody.
We were playing adults like, Dean Unkin, Chris Malinsky, guys like that we were, we weren't as big as those guys. We weren't as strong as them. And we learned kind of the school of hard knocks from those guys. You went down there and you learned how to play, and you learned how to play the right way. You had to gain their trust before you were able to go out there and shoot a basketball in a game. So it was a struggle for a while, but that's how we got better. I mean, my brother Adam and I talk about that a lot. We didn't have to play a lot of the AAU just because we had that here. I mean, you could go down there in the summer, you could play at noon on a Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and then you had your night ball on Mondays and Wednesdays too. So you were getting a lot of basketball in just down there.
And we talked about, you go down the quantity and the quality of athlete. Like at one point we sat at the dinner table and we were counting all the names that came down. There was probably 20, 25 that you could get in a rotation down there, and it was like, well, that one played Division I football, that one played D3 basketball, that one played D2 basketball, that one, and it was just like top to bottom. They were all former athletes, maybe in different athletics historically, but it was just throttled with athletes. And so, I got to roll it out with them too. So as long as you could hold your own and you could win a game with them, you were allowed to play, and it was how we got better.
And they were so good about giving kids an opportunity down there. I mean, I think everybody was a little bit anxious and nervous to go out there and play against adults. Is it
still like that? Do you guys know?
It's not. I mean, that is one thing, my friends and I talk about that a lot too. There just isn't that level here anymore, and I think lives have gotten a little bit busier for people. Kids are more involved in different activities, so I think that's led to it as well. But it's kind of unfortunate because we benefited from that for several years, and we actually had a group. It was prior to COVID. We had a group of about 10 to 15 guys, and we were starting to try to get it going again. And then COVID hit, and they closed down, gymnasiums and things like that. And then after that, we just never got back into it. But yeah, definitely a benefit that we had here in small town Iowa, that I would put our group that we had down at the rec center up against just about anybody in the state.
And that's a great point. I mean, that's where they really honed their skills, and it was against bigger, tougher, stronger athletes than they were.
Yeah, you hit your athletic prime in your 20s. So if you're a high school kid and you're getting a chance to play against athletes like that, and especially people that have skills, it's going to make you better. I hope Sean and that group can restart a league now that COVID's over and the gyms are back open. I hope they can get something and going again, because I think it would really be a benefit to the local area, because I grew up playing against people older than me all the time too when I was a kid, and I tip my cap to those guys that allowed sometimes a 94-pound, seventh grader to go out and play with adults and stuff, but it made me a much better basketball player than I ever would have been too.
You look at Kemper this last year, Minahan talked multiple times how those kids are always at the rec playing basketball together and with other people, and they contributed to success right away in the basketball court from this last year.
Absolutely.
That's one, and that's too. AAU, everybody thinks that's the way you do it. That's the way you have to do it. If you want a little recognition, it certainly helps your profile.
It does. It's probably
got its place.
It does. It's probably the biggest way to get recognized today, but that's only because it's where everybody goes now, and it's easier for a college coach to go to a weekend tournament and see maybe 60 kids that they might be interested in, and stuff, than to go to a high school game. But everything that I understand, and I'm not against all of those things. I like seeing kids put in the extra work, but AAU, I mean, it stands for all about you. You learn to play the one-on-one game. You don't learn the team aspect. So a lot of times when kids play the travel ball and then they come back to the high school team or even to the college team, they have to relearn to play a team brand of basketball, which is different than what they play when they travel. Because when you're on those teams, it's about getting yourself noticed and getting yourself maybe recruited by somebody. So.
Yeah, and Shelley made a great point that she said that it was Gino Oriema. She said that you should be spending 90% of your time practicing, 10% playing games.
Yes.
Whereas AAU, it's completely opposite. opposite.
Oh, yeah.
You don't practice. You just play game after game after game, and you don't develop your skills.
Well, and I know nobody wants to listen to me about this, but the best players in the NBA are foreigners now. And what do the foreigners do? They play once a week and practice every other day of the week. What do we do in this country? And we're falling behind fast, people, is we play, and never practice. You don't get better just by playing. You have to practice and work on the skills.
But you also give a lot of credit to those guys that were at the rec center that included those kids in there. And they passed along that knowledge they had. And they, from what it said, they didn't take it easy on them at all.
Well, and I think some of those guys still go down and play. There's a noon league that I know is some older guys that are maybe our age and older that still roll the ball out there and go out and bang against each other and shoot the shots and stuff. And I wish sometimes that I had the abilities to still go over there and was in the shape to be able to go over and try and play, because I missed the game. I missed the game a lot. Yeah.
There was also one thing we talked about, and I wanted to play this extended cut, and this is even a little bit longer than the last one. One of the big influences on their athletic careers was Greg Kustra. They both worked out with him, and here's what they had to say about that. You guys in high school, did you guys both work out with Greg Kustra? And Shelley, I know you did.
Yeah.
You were probably one of the first female athletes that he really worked with, didn't you?
Yes.
So what was that kind of benefit for you? He tells a story that you went to Iowa State and you were doing like squats or something like that, and they're like, okay, just do like 10, but you could do like 30 reps of that. And they were just amazed.
Yeah, so I got to know Greg Kustra through Adam, and I was a freshman, and I was 5'10" and 115 pounds with, this plan to go play basketball at Iowa State, and my body type was just not going to cut it. I was not strong enough. I was not big enough really to play at that level, and so Adam, I think, was kind of Greg's first protege on figuring out how to turn these basketball players into strong, explosive athletes. And so Adam gave me the name. I remember vividly Adam handing me the card. This was actually before we dated. Out the window at the rec center one day, he's like, you might want to call this guy. I think he could help you. So of course I called. My first meeting with Greg, I went to his little shed in the backyard, and at that time it was a lot smaller than the big shed he has now. And he was showing me pictures of weightlifters on the wall, and kind of candidly said, I've never trained a female, but I know how to make people strong, and if you want to give it a shot, I would love to try, and it showed me pictures of these strong athletes, and of course I was just like, that's exactly what I need, and so that relationship started off. And when you talk about influential people in your life, boy, Greg's right there at the top of my list as well.
Mine too.
He not only, I think from that, I put on 40 pounds of muscle in the next few years. Yep.
Wow.
Yep. He helped me for fun. We went to some competitive weightlifting competitions for just more fun than anything. But went to Iowa State and had the body that I needed, the strength I needed to compete at that level, and I would never have got there without him. And we giggle when we got to Iowa State, they have squat records and, clean and jerk and snatch records, and Sean and I had all of them on the boards when we got there. I mean, he just made us really explosive and strong, and then above and beyond that, boy, just the confidence injection that he gave. Just our dreams were his dreams, and every day you walked out of that gym, you just felt like $1 million and that you could go conquer the world. That was probably even more impactful for me than just the muscle and the strength that I got. So
what was your experience like with Greg?
I echo every one of those comments that Shelley made. I wouldn't be the athlete that I was without Greg. Greg was such an influence on me, and just the confidence that he gave me. I mean, when you're in high school, we were just skinny, kids, and then, he teaches you how to compete, how to challenge yourself, and in turn that made us stronger. And just the preparation mentally, physically, emotionally, everything that we needed. He was such a good coach for that, and he was such an advocate for us. And it was little things that he would do for us. You'd go in there, and every time you'd go in there, his goal was you wanted to PR in something, so you wanted to have a personal best. And he had this knack for always, even if it was throwing 2.5 more kilos on the bar, you were setting a PR when you'd walk out of there, and you leave there just feeling so much more confident in yourself. But just his ability to bring that out in people, and the true caring mentality he has. He is just a genuine human being, and he would do anything for anybody. He's just got such a good heart, and he truly, truly cares. But once again, I just would not be the athlete that I was without him.
By the way, they did mention that they didn't have the cush air conditioning like they do now in his gym and things like that.
Yeah.
But it just speaks volumes that both of them benefited so greatly from that weight training.
Yeah, and you go up to Greg's. I literally was just there yesterday afternoon watching about 5 area athletes work out, and you look on the walls. The best athletes that I have covered in my time here, their pictures are all hanging up because they worked out at Greg's. Casey Kaspabar, Reed Tellinghuse, and then Nick Fett, who's now coaching football down at Northern Arizona.
Adam, Sean, Shelley,
and Danny Stipe, and I mean, just you literally go in, and it's like he's got pictures hanging up all over the place, and it's all of the elite athletes that have come out of here in my 20 years. Almost all of them have worked out at some point or another with Greg.
A retired Carroll County Sheriff's deputy turned weightlifting coach, and it is impressive to see what he's doing with athletes, and they're world-ranked athletes. You were just there yesterday with some of them.
Yeah, Lucas Deal is ranked number 2 in the nation right now, and he's going to be heading to national soon. He'll be kind of battling against the kid from Georgia that's ranked number 1, and he's got a chance to beat him, and it was impressive watching 15, 16-year-old kid yesterday throw around weights that I'd never dreamed of being able to throw around, and it's pretty cool. And Gracie Johnson, who's lifting, in college, and doing that type of lifting, was there working out yesterday, so I got a chance to catch up with her, and it's pretty amazing what he's been able to accomplish, and like they said, what was a little shed when he first started.
Yeah. Right there in his backyard, the North Highland Weightlifting Club. Casey, we got to get you up there because you got to see this.
I didn't even know who Greg was until I started working in sports with Jeff. I didn't know.
It's really under the radar.
It is.
If you're into athletics and if you're in the weight training program things, Greg.
Yeah.
But outside of that, they really don't.
Yeah, we've had him on here a few times.
Yeah.
I've been up there. I remember doing a sit-down video interview years ago with Maddie Stenbow and some of the other terrific lifters that have come through, his program or whatever. But it's he's known better around the world than he probably is here locally, because he's
say that.
I mean, you got a guy from Carroll, Iowa that gets invited to the U.S. weightlifting area. I mean, where all the top
with the Olympic
coaches and stuff, and they invite him to come work out and lift and train their athletes. That tells you how much he's respected around the world. That the best weight training coaches in the world are saying, "Hey, you come here and help us train our coaches and help us train our lifters."
You're going to have to, for Casey's benefit here, going to have to tell the story about when you started working out with Greg. First of all, you started out with a broomstick.
I did.
Because you got to learn the perfect form.
You don't lift anything except for a broomstick.
They made it sound easy, like, oh, we got really strong, we got really this. Man, you suffer.
You do. It's a whole body workout, and you're working muscles that you don't normally work out. And I can remember, one of the things that he had you do just to get the form was you put like a ball along the wall, and it's on the small of your back, and you squat, but you have to do the arms just right and the legs just right. Well, I tell you what, doing 3 reps of 10 at 265 when I was out of shape, I'd walk out of there and I would hurt, but it was a good hurt, but it was tough. It was kind of like when we used to do lunges and stuff, years ago. Brutal. You would walk out of there, and then the legs would kill you, and I was sore for days. But I give him credit. I did that Relay Iowa where you run across the state over a weekend as part of a relay team, and the second year I did it, I didn't run at all. I literally just went and lifted out with Greg for about 6 months and told him what I wanted to do, and he put together a workout plan that got me in shape that I ran almost 35 miles in less than 48 hours, and didn't have any problems doing it because he had me in shape to be able to do it without going out and running anything.
Yeah. So those are just 2 cuts from the entire interview. The entire interview is like 62 minutes long, but man, the hour just flew right by. We talked about NIL. We talked about AAU.
Yep.
We talked about Caitlin Clark. We talked about just the lack of skill sometimes when they watch basketball right now.
I can't wait to get a chance to listen to it. They're 2 of my very favorite people. I got a chance to catch up with them the other day after I think it was this last week. weekend and stuff, and they said they had so much fun. And I still remember Sean that going 100 mile an hour and pulling up at the free throw line and getting so high above everybody else and knocking down that jump shot. And then Shelley was a tremendous player in high school, and then I still remember her senior year over at Iowa State getting that start on senior night. I can't remember the exact total, but I think she went out and poured in like 24 points or something like that night, and drained a bunch of threes. And I just, luckily enough that I was there for that game that night. And those are two kids. I'm going to still call them kids. They're not kids anymore, but two players that I will never forget getting the chance to cover.
Yeah, I did miss one opportunity for a question. I said, what do you think that Ole, Don Olson, or Keith Stroud would have said if you guys pulled up for a logo 3?
You know what would have happened? They'd have been sitting on the bench next to Coach.
Probably. But terrific people, great podcast. You can catch it at 1380kcim.com. Must Know People is the name of that one. We're back with more Rewind coming up next.
Athletes at your house prepare for hard work and fun of the season. Remember that St. Anthony Rehab Services provides physical therapy for any sports injury that may sideline your member of the team. Sports injuries can plague kids of all ages and keep them from playing the sport they love. Athletes will be under the direct supervision of a certified and licensed healthcare professional in the newly renovated sports performance facility. If an injury is keeping your athlete out of the game, call St. Anthony Rehabilitation Services at 794-5000 for sports injury and treatment rehab.
KCIM Sports Rewind here on this Tuesday morning, and of course games underway, baseball, softball season. We got some streaks of notes, some plays of notes to go over here. Let's start. Last night, triple play turned by the Glidden Ralston Wildcats.
Yeah, started with Lucas Christian out in left field. Coon Rapids Bayard had runners on second and third with nobody out, and looked like maybe in the second inning they were going to open up a little bit of a lead after Cal Hayden had cranked a home run, out into the parking lot over the right field fence in the first inning, and fly ball out to left, and he catches it, and the guy on third tags up and gets gunned down at the plate, and then the guy at second decided to head to third, and they threw him out over at third base, to turn the triple play and get out of what looked like some trouble in the second inning. It didn't help. Hate to bring it up, but Coon scored 11 times in the third and stuff, and went on to win fairly easily last night. But for Glidden Ralston and those kids that were involved in that, a 7-2-2-5 triple play. It's rare to see those. But,
something they'll never forget.
Yeah, absolutely. They'll talk about that. I just had my 35th class reunion. Hadn't seen any of 90% of those kids in the 35 years because I had never really went back. But that'll be something when they go back for their 35-year reunion. They'll talk about that. It'll be something they'll talk about forever. Yeah.
So very cool moment last night. Also, Grand Slam happening last night. Yeah,
over in the softball game that I was at last night, I was able to watch both with the softball starting at 5 and the baseball starting between 7 and 7:30. And Breely Clayberg, she'd been very close. I guess she hit one off the top of the fence over the weekend at the tournament at West Central Valley. This was a no-doubter. The moment it left the bat, you knew it was gone. And cranked a Grand Slam home run and stuff. So Coons kind of had a little bit of that because Cal hit a Grand Slam home run the other day as well. So second one for Coon, one for baseball now, and one for softball. We don't see many Grand Slam home runs.
Not really, no.
Yeah.
I don't. Do you recall last one you had?
I don't think I've ever seen a Grand Slam home run.
Yeah.
You said only the triple play is only the second one you've seen in about 20 years.
I think it's the second one that I can recall since that at a game I was at. There might have been others that were turned, but that's just the second one at a game I was actually at that I was able to see. So yeah, that's pretty cool.
How about an extra base streak that continues on?
Yeah, Jamie Pierce
tearing the cover off the ball.
Yeah, she is hitting the ball really well. I had our weekly interview as we talk to each coach every week and stuff, and put it on a podcast on the website as well. But talked to Steve Nutzman yesterday, and I was like, man, I hope I don't jinx her. But Jamie, going to last night's game, Jamie Pierce was 8 of 17 on the season, and all 8 hits were extra base hits. And last night she goes 1 for 3 in an 11-1 loss to Pocahontas area but she hits a solo home run in the 5th inning to, now 9 hits on the year, and every one of them's either a double, a triple, or a home run.
Wow.
4 home runs on the year for her. Elizabeth Lloyd, I think, from Glen Ralston's got 3 home runs. Maddie Nielsen hit another one last night. I think she's got 2 or 3 home runs on the year. So pretty cool to see some of the things we're seeing right now.
So you see some of the sluggers out there, it's either home run or single. So,
yeah.
But she's hitting everything but singles.
Everything but singles.
Is it speed, her game?
No, it's power.
She's got a lot of power.
She can run. She steals bases and everything else, but I think she just hits the ball hard, and it just right now it's going into gaps, which is allowing her to get there. I was talking to Coach Nutzman, and he said that right after the game ended the other night, Coach McCullough, Eric McCullough, keeps the scorebook, and he's one of the assistant coaches for the softball team. He looked up at Steve and he goes, "I wish we'd have gotten one more inning. She was scheduled to hit. She just needed a single, for the cycle. So she had a double, triple, and a home run in the game the other night. So that would have been really cool to see her get the hit for the cycle. So.
Yeah, that's when like softball or baseball just seem easy. It's just the game is coming to you at that point.
Yep, absolutely. That softball's looking about 3 times the size probably, for her at the plate.
Yeah.
So
and those outfield gaps are just huge.
They are.
It just works that even when you're basketball, when you can't seem to miss.
Yeah,
the basket might as well be like 10 feet wide.
Right, and I think she was hitting 467 going into last night's game in 1 of 3. So that's going to dip just a little bit, but still hitting well over 400 and stuff. So, and then Audubon softballs, kind of, we thought at the beginning of the year that, with Audubon and Exiro and Kimballton combining this year, that team had the chance to be really good. They've got 3 losses on the year, but all 3 of them are to ranked teams, and all 3 of them are in really tight games where they had a chance to win. But they've won 4 straight, swept 3 larger schools. They beat Carroll, Harlan, and Council Bluffs Abraham Lincoln Saturday down at the Atlantic Tournament.
That is a great run.
Yes, and then went over to Loma last night, who came into that one 5-1 and a really salty team, and they were up 9-0 going into the 7th inning. Dominant pitching performance from Riley Miller, and they hit the ball extremely well, and they're starting to kind of round into shape. They look like the team we thought they could be.
Other teams that are hot right now, who are you got your eye on?
SEC baseball's playing really good. I wouldn't call it not surprising, but excuse me, with last year, they were well under 500, and this year, they won 3 straight now. And I talking with Coach Withers, he feels like this team can, exceed a lot of expectations this year. They're hitting the ball well, and I think they're playing well.
Yeah, I know. He commented on the Andrew Anderson's player of the game from their win over Ogden the other night that Nick had called, and he says 3 years into this, and this thing's starting to come together, kind of as, paraphrasing a little bit of what he said.
Speaking of Andrew, I believe hitting over 400 to start the year, had a triple last night. He went 2 for 3 in the game, and then on the mound this year, he's just been dominant. I don't think he's started a game yet, but in relief, I'm thinking pitching, probably 10 innings has got almost 10 strikeouts. So
yeah, he's playing extremely well, and as Casey said, they're really starting to put things together. You got to wonder with Kuhn a little bit. I know they went 1-1 on Saturday, beat a good Bedford team in the opening round of their tournament, and then lost to a good Key of Lansing team in the championship game. But in that game, they pitched like 6 different guys because they were just trying to keep the pitch count number. So everybody pretty much pitched under 25 pitches. Had some guys that normally don't throw much, had to throw in that game. But then you go out and put 20 on the board last night against Glidden Ralston in 5 innings. You kind of wonder if Kuhn's starting to maybe round into shape a little bit. They're sitting at 500, but that's still a team that I don't know if I want to see late in the season.
And I think even Kemper's sitting at 3-7. They've played 3 straight ranked opponents, 4 on the year, 5 if you count Kuhn, who was ranked number 1 coming into the year. So 5 a year, 10 games so far have been against teams that are ranked or were ranked at one point.
Right.
So
go ahead.
Kemper's played some really tough competition.
They have, and they always do. Randy never worries about record early in the year. It's about getting better against good competition and seeing good pitching. And John Waddle's the same way. Wanted to go back to Cal for a second. Intentionally walked all the time. They didn't last night, but a lot of teams are intentionally walking him because they just don't want to face him. And if you see the ropes that he hits, you understand why. But now that some of the other guys in the lineup or Parker Hayes has been hitting well, but he hits in front of him. But, you start getting some other guys behind him hitting well, and it's going to be a little harder to be able to intentionally walk him.
That's what you need. You need that protection behind him to say, if you're going to walk him, we're going to make you pay for it.
Yep, absolutely.
This weekend, there's a couple tournaments going on. Carroll hosts their baseball classic. Carroll and East Sac are at the OABCIG tournament, so it's going to be some fun competition.
It is, absolutely. And then I've got Glidden Ralston at Kemper in softball out at the Little League Complex coming up Saturday afternoon.
This weekend, we're going to kind of bring the Carroll invite to you guys. We're going to film, I think, Carroll and Coon's first game, and then if they play that they play each other, we'll film that game. But and we'll do the same thing with Kemper because their tournament's, I think, the weekend after Father's Day weekend, so coming up in a couple weekends. So we'll do the same thing with Kemper.
You'll be able to watch and listen to those games strictly on the YouTube channel and stuff. So, thanks to Casey for wanting to go out and
it's going to be there anyways.
And stuff. So I've got the softball game, and I told him when I get done I can swing down because I know it's not easy to call 3 games if you get because we're doing the Coon game for sure, we're doing the Carroll game for sure, and then if they end up playing each other, that we'll have that one on video. It's not easy doing 3 straight games.
No,
so
it is not for sure. So that baseball classic scheduled 10 o'clock Sadell and Carroll, Coon Rapids Bear Dalgona at noon. Winners will play at about 4 o'clock that afternoon.
Yep, absolutely. And then I do want to send out a quick apology. Just not doing my job as well as I should. Yesterday was the state co-ed golf meet, and it was here at the Carroll National Golf Course, and I was not aware of that and stuff. So that falls on me. So I apologize to all of our area kids. I had a couple of them last night and come up and say, "Hey, we didn't see you there, today," and stuff. And I apologize that I kind of the spring season in my mind was done and forgot to look it up and forgot to reach out to the coaches. So hopefully everybody that played out there yesterday at the Carroll National had a good day.
Got to say, I love the picture of Noggle out mowing in his Rewind T-shirt.
Yes, and I appreciate everybody.
Eric, you got to cut the sleeves off that shirt, man. Come on.
I hope they continue to send in the pictures and stuff. Yeah, I got 2 of them sent of him mowing. One he had the thumbs up, but the shirt was far enough away. It was hard to pick out the shirt on that one, so I used the other one. But I did like somebody posted a comment on their riding lawnmower, Eric.
Push mowers are a better workout. Yes, I'm just saying.
And he did comment back, Eric, it was something of you don't get to look like this with a push lawnmower.
On that note, we are going to bring to an end KCIM Sports Rewind. Again, the podcast Must Know People with Sean Shelley Haluska available right now at carrollbroadcasting.com. Appreciate a listen there. And a podcast of this program going to be appearing on the website in just moments.